Tanya Madison.
And I'm Jonathan Mason.
And welcome to Law Unfiltered, where we talk about a lot of current or up-and-coming events and give some of the legal implications. Now, Jonathan, you were telling me about this case between Costco and Tiffany and Company, where Costco was selling Tiffany rings in their stores, and Tiffany found out about it. Can you kind of educate some of our listeners on that? Because I think that's so interesting.
Okay. So how it all started, and I can just imagine this woman, not being stereotypical or anything.
Here it comes.
No. Imagine this. So this woman received, I don't know, obviously she had an engagement ring. I don't know if she bought it, her husband or her fiance bought it, but I assume in the normal scheme of things, her fiance gets a ring, and it's a Tiffany ring. Later on, she goes shopping at Costco, and she notices that they're selling Tiffany rings. And she's like, wait a minute. They're selling Tiffany rings in Costco. That devalues everything that I thought about a Tiffany ring. So she actually complained to the company, to Tiffany, about them selling Tiffany rings in Costco. And Tiffany was like, hey, wait a minute. We're not selling our rings in Costco. Let's see what's going on here. So it turns out, Costco, they had a display, and they did have a reference to Tiffany rings. They called their rings Tiffany rings. And so that's kind of like how the whole thing got started.
So I'd imagine this is a trademark issue.
Right.
And so they pretty much are suing because they're saying, hey, you took our brand or you took our name and you're profiting off of it. Yeah. And that's illegal, right?
Right, exactly. And apparently, like Tiffany, there's some companies that are just so protective, like really strong brands like Tiffany, they're so protective of their intellectual property.
$1 million, some of those rings are ridiculous.
Some of the rings are ridiculous, but the brand itself is really ridiculous. Even the box, the packaging is famous. And so those companies like that, I think Tiffany has like 90 some trademarks, various trademarks. So those companies like that, not only are they very protective of their brand, but they have a duty to be protective of their brand. Because when you have a trademark, you have a duty to make sure that other people aren't using your trademark.
And I'd imagine if people start using it and you're not protecting it, then at some point it can just become a generic use, or it can transition to where it's not really trademarked anymore.
Well, if you have what they call, say, poor policing habits of your mark, and you're aware that other people are using the mark and you don't do anything about it, then you may lose the right to protect your mark.
All right, so then they find out, hey, our diamond rings or whatever rings are being sold at Costco for, I'm sure, 3 or 4 times less than what they're charging. What potential damage would they have? I mean, what do they have to show that, listen, you're devaluing our brand, you are profiting off our brand at a much substantial rate than we are.
Right.
But you're also doing this unlawfully. What do they have to show?
So you mentioned 2 different things there. There is a claim for trademark dilution, which is measured by how much their brand has been devalued by selling the rings in Costco. And that would be, in most cases, something like expert witness would have to come in and testify about that. But then also, how much money has Costco made from selling Tiffany rings? And actually, ultimately, we'll get into a little more detail, but ultimately, when the case went to the jury, that's what the jury had to decide, because there were some preliminary motions filed that established that Costco was liable for trademark infringement. So when it actually went to the jury, it had already been established that trademark infringement had been committed. It was just a matter of how much does Costco have to pay Tiffany.
Right. Now, you tell me, and I'm going to back away a little from the law. You tell me, as a man who, I don't know if you've ever proposed to anyone or not, but does the cost of the ring matter, or is it more the brand? Like, if you go to a Tiffany's ring, if you go get your fiancé a Tiffany's ring, versus if you see it at Costco, are you like, okay, it's important for me to make sure she has a Tiffany ring? Or are you like, look, the price, that's really overrated. Let's just make sure it looks nice.
Well, let me ask you, I'm going to flip it around on you.
Oh, wait, can you answer first?
Let me flip it on you. As a woman...
Can you first?
I don't remember the question.
Oh, sure. Even though you were gonna flip it.
Is it important?
As a man, to you, is the brand important, or is it more the cost? Like, are you one of those that's like, I'm really kind of more into making sure, I just spend a reasonable amount and save the rest. Or you're more like, I should spend a lot of money on a ring.
Boy, I don't want this video to come back to haunt me, but. So I've always heard about the rule of thumb that, you should pay 3 months salary for the ring. So in that sense,
us as women, we hear 6, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So I guess in that sense, there's definitely societal pressure, because when a woman gets an engagement ring, she's not going to just sit in her bedroom and like watch it. She's in these days within 5 minutes of getting it, it's going to be posted on Facebook. So there's a sense of, you don't want to be the man who people are putting in the comments, oh, congratulations, but behind your back they're saying, damn, is that the biggest ring he could get for?
Or he's cheap, or
he's broke, or whatever. So I think that does play into a guy's mind, but I also think it depends on the relationship and what kind of discussions that they've had, where they are in life. If you're a younger couple, or if you're an older couple and both of you already have houses, you have cars, you have furniture, you have everything you need. I mean, if you're just starting out and you need all those essential things, I don't think it makes sense to spend all that money on an engagement ring when you're just starting out and you have so many necessities.
So what I was 10 years down the line,
perhaps. Now, what I was going to flip around on you and say, as a woman, would a woman rather have a half-carat Tiffany ring or a 2-carat ring from Costco?
Well, I mean, if Costco is selling the box and the and everything,
but it wasn't the exact packaging. They weren't using it.
Yeah. I'd imagine they weren't. But if you're still going to say it's a Tiffany ring and not telling me it's Costco, what would I know, right?
But getting back to the case, there were a lot of people who actually thought they were buying a real Tiffany brand ring, that they, the one that they bought from Costco. And not only did they think they bought a Tiffany ring, they're like, I've got a Tiffany ring and I got a great deal on it.
Right. And so I'd imagine that played into damages, because either Tiffany's saying, hey, we lost a lot of money because those people would have came to us and spent the 6 digits or however much, versus they came to you and spent a substantial amount less. I mean, if you get the ring at Costco, then you get the ring at Costco. Don't get a Tiffany ring at Costco and when it's really not a Tiffany ring. So I mean, I agree that Tiffany should have worn that. I think it's clear that you are misrepresenting the brand of Tiffany. Now, whether I think I should have a Tiffany 2-carat versus a Costco 6-carat, you could show me a Tiffany ring right now, and unless I see it come in a Tiffany box, I'm not even gonna know it's a Tiffany ring.
Right.
So I don't know if I should or would put that much emphasis on the brand if I can't even recognize it outside of the packaging.
Right. Well, and again, getting back to the case, and you asked earlier about the profits and dilution of the trademark. Well, when this went to the jury, I mean, this is a big verdict. There were 2 types of damages: compensatory damages, which compensated them for the profits that Costco had made. And then there were punitive damages, which are in the nature of punishment for, like a willful trademark violation. And so the compensatory damages, which they determined in one day, were $5.5 million, I think. And then it was another $8.25 million in punitive damages. So we're talking over $13 million.
The price of 3 rings. I'm just kidding.
Or maybe 1 for you. So, I mean, it's big consequences. Now, this jury verdict just came down in the last few days, so we'll see if Costco appeals or, what happens with the case. But, Costco, they argued that, hey, Tiffany is a type of ring. It's not just a brand of ring. So Tiffany describes a type of setting of ring. So any manufacturer can sell a Tiffany ring because it's not necessarily referring to the brand, it's referring to the type of cut of a ring.
So then it's kind of referring to either the diamond or the band itself.
The diamond, the setting, just how the
Yeah.
diamond sets in.
On the ring.
Yeah, on the ring. A single stone with a multiple prong setting, I think was kind of like what they argued. It wasn't successful. In fact, it came before the court on a motion for summary judgment, and the court just rejected that argument, and that's how it got to the point where once the court established liability at summary judgment, then it was left to the jury to decide how much to award to Tiffany, and that was quite a big award.
So then, to be clear, I mean, that is a legal argument, but you got to really prove it existed before the brand Tiffany versus Tiffany kind of created this. This design and cut, and you just tried to.
Right, arguing that a mark is generic is sort of the legal term, because you can't trademark a word that describes the type of goods or the class of goods that's considered generic. For example, this is a laptop computer. I couldn't trademark laptop because that's what it is,
right.
A laptop. Or Tiffany is a type of...
Even if Tiffany created this design and then called it Tiffany, that would still be protected.
Right.
It would have to have existed before.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is interesting. One thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is the fact that you were telling me how in their proof of damages, they talked about how a lot of women do place emphasis on the ring and coming from Tiffany's, and I'd imagine it was probably some women on the jury, and so that may have then played a role into their upset or disgust.
We have it, yeah, because when you're considering trademark infringement, there are numerous factors that the court considers, and the first one is the strength of the mark that's being infringed upon. So what happens is you have to go out into the marketplace and find, you do it through surveys or customer experiences, things like that. So they had, it could be a marketing firm or some other type of an expert, and they go out and they interview people and they say, what do you think of Tiffany as a brand? And part, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was essentially, it was something along the lines of, Tiffany was like the top brand for jewelry in the minds of women. That was like the number one brand. So it was clear to the court that Tiffany was a strong brand, and they satisfied that particular prong of the test.
So they're basically saying out in the market, women do put emphasis more so on the brand than the cost.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. And they weren't just women who got interviewed, because I don't want any comments about me being Trump-like or anything. But but I don't know. I thought it was it's not often that you see, well, trademark cases come up a lot, but in a context like this, it's like everybody can kind of relate to it. Yeah. A lot of times trademarks are between two, competing brands of beer or something like that. But
particularly between two very well-known brands, and you would think sometimes, hey, Costco, you've got a slew of high-power lawyers. How could you let this slip through? And let you know?
No, they knew what they were doing. They had emails, like the people, they sent emails internally saying they knew what they were doing. They were trying
right,
to.
And I guess that's my point. You know what you're doing, and you're violating now. It's a big company, because a lot of times people think if it's a big company, then they're probably right. But no, that's not the case.
No, that's not the case. But at the same time, I'm sure they didn't run before they wrote this email, or an email that says make it similar to Tiffany's stores.
Or call it a Tiffany ring.
They didn't run that.
Because I think that's the issue, is you call it a Tiffany ring. Even if you made it similar, but don't call it a Tiffany ring. I think that's where they went wrong.
Yeah, but that was the whole lure of it.
Of course.
It was the whole lure of people.
But that's when you're wrong. You're still wrong. Whether it brings you business,
let me go back to something you asked me earlier. I really don't think any man would want to go to his lady and say,
I got your ring.
Yeah, I got your ring at Costco. I don't know. I may be wrong.
I'm sure they wouldn't say it, but I'm sure they're going to say it's a Tiffany ring and just leave it at that. If you're.
But that's misleading, because it's not Tiffany. Like, it doesn't have the box. It doesn't have the. I know, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. I don't know.
But at least you're letting the world know you're not going to go to Costco and purchase your fiance.
If I ever buy a ring, I will
ring.
not go to Costco, and I probably won't even ever buy one. I was just like, let's go to the courthouse and get some bands and just do this, or elope.
Even if she wants her Tiffany ring.
It's not about what I want. It's about what she wants. But except when it comes to the ring, I don't know. We have to compromise.
Well, you guys let us know what you think, and thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
All right. See you next time.